Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the PG Show, where we talk about all things college football. Today, I am joined by Jay with Unfair Sports. How you doing?
What's going on, PG, man? I'm excited to be on here as usual, joining you to talk about some college football.
College football. It's this is gonna be the bane of my existence. The reason why I don't sleep, the reason why you don't get anything productive done outside of your day. Yeah, college football. It's gonna be ramping up as we head into bowl season. A lot of things to talk about. But before we get into it, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, just find me on YouTube, Unfair Sports. There, we take a pensive approach to the sports conversation. We talk OU football, college football, and really sports in general. So we'd love to have you over there at the channel. I do a lot of cool stuff. I'm trying to catch up with PG. He's doing the most, but we'll get there.
Doing the most, but hey, you know what? We'll all eventually get there. We'll be on a level playing field. So let's go ahead and let's jump into a little bit of Oklahoma Sooners recruiting here. As we head into early National Signing Day, there's a lot of questions about who's going to early enroll, who are the Sooners going to be able to land, and you know what? I think OU fans need to settle down a little bit. No need to worry, no need to fear. There are a couple recruits that I'd be like, okay, not 100% sure on yet. Definitely want to keep our eyes on it. But Oklahoma's in a good spot to potentially land a top 3 class in the composite rankings. I would expect when 247 updates their composite score for Jackson Arnold to be a top 5 player, as he just recently got his 5th star from Rivals. So congratulations to Jackson Arnold.
Woo woo!
Yeah, which that's going to help OU out a lot. And you know what? To everybody that thought that OU is never going to get another 5-star quarterback again, I think this is going to be the best quarterback recruit we've had outside of Malachi Nelson, who decommitted from us, right?
Yeah, that's fair to say that.
Yeah, so I guess Lincoln Riley ain't the only guy that can go out there and recruit quarterbacks. Jeff Lebby found a diamond in the rough, and it's paid off. So
It's fair. Very fair. I totally agree. He was one of those players that a lot of teams snub, basically, and he feels slighted. You can tell by the way he plays, the way he acts. He feels like people overlooked him and they shouldn't have. And so Jackson's going to walk in there. He's going to have that swagger. He's going to have that moxie that a lot of people like. And he's gonna try to be a world beater, and that's kind of what you need in college football if you want to be dominant. Have either a very dominant defense or a quarterback that's a world beater, and I think we've got him.
yeah, and this whole story with Jackson Arnold's really interesting in how he ended up at Oklahoma, because when Jeff Lebby got here, it was basically between Jaden Rashada or Jackson Arnold. And it was going to be whoever committed first. And Jaden Rashada was close to pulling the trigger on Oklahoma. Now, I think OU would have been okay either way. But Arnold is obviously, I think, the better quarterback just when you look at the high school film. But I think OU would have been fine with Rashada either way. You just wouldn't have seen him as high up in the recruiting rankings. But Rashada ended up at Florida. But it did come down to who was going to recruit first, and Jackson Arnold wanted to pull the trigger. So that one's interesting, and I'm really curious to see how he's going to be able to progress within the Sooners system next season. With Nick Evers hitting the transfer portal, I would imagine Jackson Arnold's probably going to take all of the second rep snaps next year, right?
To be honest, the way that I see with him is, yes, first off, yes. Second snaps, he will definitely get all of that. And I can see him. I've said this before, and I don't feel like this is hyperbole whatsoever, but I do see him being potentially our Trevor Lawrence. I can see him potentially taking the job away from Gabriel. As much as I like Dylan Gabriel, I like him a lot. I'm a lot higher on him than most of you Sooner fans are, because I think I don't think everything's on him. I think there was timing issues, and we've talked about this before, PG, in a few different videos with other people, but I think midseason next year, we may see some Jackson Arnold play. We may see him do like Caleb did Spencer Rattler. He may come in relief, and next thing you know, he's the starting quarterback going forward. So he has the capabilities to do that. Now with Nick Evers gone, there's definitely no one that's going to be in his way. Just as long as he picks up the system quickly, which I think he has those capabilities, he'll do some big things.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're finally jumping on the train with me if you weren't already on it, because I'd been screaming the whole season, especially in our group chat. I don't know if you've seen it, but Jackson Arnold could take the job from DG. And that's not saying DG's not good, like you said. DG's a very serviceable quarterback. Jackson Arnold's skill level, though, I mean, DG's a good 4-star quarterback, mid 4-star. DG's an elite level talent, right? You can see
Arnold
that
is
the way.
definitely
Yeah, he can move the
that
ball with his
person.
feet. He can move the ball with his feet. He's got great arm power. And, I don't think we've seen the best of Jackson Arnold yet, which is shocking because I think Jackson Arnold is starting to bloom and blossom as a quarterback. And I think his first year as a freshman, a true freshman at Oklahoma, I don't necessarily want to see him start because you know how I feel about true freshmen starting as your quarterback. I just don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm a
Because
concerned person like that too. I'm like you. I'm not big on true freshmen starting. Like I love what Drake May's doing at North Carolina, but that terrifies me.
yeah, and I just think he's a good backup option for next year, and then let him take the reins the third year. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Jackson Arnold too when he gets here, and especially if he is able to get. And this is a good segue here. If he's able to go ahead and get Landon Sides from Denton Geyer as well, which you saw Parker post a note about that. There's a potential opportunity that Landon Sides could end up at Oklahoma as a preferred walk-on with a potential NIL bag that is equivalent to a scholarship with, you know, the extra money that you would need to be able to live as a college student. So that's going to be pretty interesting because if you look at what Denton Geyer is doing on that offense, Landon Sides is the main connection for Jackson Arnold right now in that offense.
No,
And
I
I
totally.
love. No, go
No, no,
ahead.
no. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but no, I'm totally with you with the Landon Size piece, and I like that there's potential for this because like BYU is doing something like this. Like I did a video on this about a year ago with a buddy of mine, and we were talking about how BYU was trying to have unlimited scholarships, basically, and so there's a bar. I can't think of the name of the protein bar company that's based in Utah. They're basically sponsoring any walk-on that goes to BYU, and they will have an NIL deal to pay for all their college. So any players that they choose to be a preferred walk-on is guaranteed a full scholarship, specifically because that's the NIL deal that they signed with the school, which is really cool. They signing with all the players. So every year they're going to make sure that any walk-ons will have their school paid for and be spokesmen for this this protein bar, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, and can we talk about how disrespectful the 247 rankings have been to Landon Sides? He's still not ranked in the composite rankings. Yet, when I look at what this man is doing on the field and then what he's done on his track and field times, very similar to another highly rated 4-star recruit that was committed to Oklahoma and Anthony Evans. I mean, if you look at what the 100-meter times, it's a 10:54 and a 10:98 in the spring of 2022. This man's got electric speed, and I don't know how he's not being looked at by more Power 5 programs. And quite honestly, he's not. I don't think outside of OU he's being looked at by any. He's committed to Incarnate Word, but I mean,
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing. And I think that's why probably 24/7 hasn't, is because a lot of these scouts and stuff for these schools and recruiters they're not sold on him yet. And that's no slight on Sides. It's just right now he hasn't sold everybody on who he is, even playing with a talent like Jackson Arnold. And so for him, he's going to have to go out and prove himself. People think that he's probably really as good as he is right now is because of Jackson, even though dude's a burner. Like, I think Landon would be really good here. He'd be a great addition to the wide receiver room. And because him and Jackson Arnold are so tight, could probably do some special stuff. But the unfortunate piece for him is he's going to have to prove himself. And it's more so because everybody else around that are trying to recruit him. Well, nobody's trying to recruit him to make him a big enough name. You see what I'm saying? That's usually where a lot of these players start to get more of their ripple, more of their attention, is when Alabama starts showing up and start having those conversations. Then those scouts for these recruiting organizations like 24/7, On3, Rivals, and ESPN, that's when they start showing up. They show up whenever they see that the big schools are interested in the kid.
Yeah, and you know what? If we get Landon Sides and he goes through the whole composite score ranking and isn't ranked, I'm okay with that because that just means we got an under the radar guy that's going to be able to go out there and show up and show out. I think he would be a good guy on the outside, kind of like what we had with Hollywood. He's just going to be able to burst out there with that speed and try to be able to beat that defender. So excited to see what's going to happen there on that front. But diving a little bit deeper into what's going on in the 2023 recruiting class, hearing a lot of good things about Oklahoma and Jordan Allen, and I think they're going to be doing an in-home visit if they haven't already done it. So Jordan Allen is being recruited by Jeff Lebby to be a tight end, 6'4", 240 pounds. I really like him as an athlete. I think he would bring a lot of versatility to that tight end room. Obviously, some more competition. And then you look at Micah Tease, the 5'11", 180 athlete, obviously wanted to come to Oklahoma when he was originally being recruited by us. We were recruiting him on the defensive side. Arkansas was recruiting him for a wide receiver, the position he wanted to play. So he ended up there. But I'm hearing that this is pretty much a lock for Oklahoma at this point because Oklahoma has came in at the wide receiver position. So excited to see what's going to happen there with Micah Tease. Probably going to be a national signing day flip, though. And then when you look at what we're doing on the defensive line, listen, Todd Bates and Brent Venables are not short of talent, especially what they're doing on the recruiting trail. You look at David Hicks, Damian Sanford, Enoa Etta, I hope I got that right, and then Tahu Sili Akana. I still have my reservations on Akana just because it seems like Jamar Kane is really trying to push there in that aspect. That's somebody that we have to watch out for. David Hicks, still committed to Texas A&M. Don't expect anything to happen until after the Under Armour All-American game. But as I was telling you earlier, I think Oklahoma is one of the very few places where Sanford and Hicks are a package because, Venables and them, they go out there. If they do an in-home visit with Sanford, right, then that allows Sanford to really find his home here at Oklahoma, where we know David Hicks already wants to be here. So you land him here, and then all of a sudden you're able to reel Hicks in. Now, if Sanford was to go to a place like Arizona, I don't think Hicks is following him out there, right? So I don't think it's a true package deal. Wherever Sanford goes or wherever Hicks goes, they follow each other. But I do think, hey, if Sanford lands here at Oklahoma, you land Hicks as well. So what's your thoughts about just the rest of the recruiting class, especially on the defensive line and where we could potentially end up with some of these recruits?
So, I mean, with the conversation is the way things are, the rumor mills are going. It does really feel like David Hicks is going to end up here at some capacity. But at the same time, he's committed to Texas A&M, and there's no guarantees. I will believe it once I see that he is signed on the line, which is dotted. And you'll hear me say that all the time. And it feels like we're not going to hear anything from him until the Under Armour All-American game, which you mentioned. But Sanford, what I have read in a couple of places and a couple of the recruiting services is he wants to be an early enrollee. So that means that wherever he's going to go, it'll be early signing day. That way he can enroll and be at the school in January. And I don't think Hicks is going to be an early enrollee. He's not going to come until the summertime or in the fall. If Sanford decides to come to Oklahoma, we'll know by the 21st. That's basically it. And then at that point, he'll be enrolled in January and he'll be playing with everybody else in the spring game. And we can really see what he's made of. But outside of that, there's been some offers for other defensive linemen out there that seems interesting. Like, was it Eno Etta?
Yeah, Eno Etta. Yeah, he's currently committed to Michigan.
Yeah, he's committed to Michigan. We're supposed to be doing an in-home visit with him in the next couple of days, if not this weekend. And when I saw that, I was like, it sounds like we're making some headway with him if he's willing to take that visit, especially with how great Michigan's playing right now. Now, we all think that winning is the only thing that these kids will follow, is go to schools that win a lot. But that's a fallacy. That's a lie. That I'm not sure why anybody actually believes that, because the number one running back in the country just committed to Texas A&M. Y'all saw what they did the last 2 years. What makes you think that that's more important? No, a lot of them are looking at not only money, but the publicity that comes for playing some of these schools. Now, Texas A&M is seeing a mass exodus of players leave their schools, but as long as if you're going to go pro, I put it to you like this, and these are what a lot of these kids are starting to learn more and more, which is why I think parity is going to be really heavy with the transfer portal. Is that if you're going to go pro, if you're going to play in the pros are going to find you. The NFL will find you on their own. They don't need you to be at Alabama. They honestly don't need you to be at Oklahoma. They just need you to play good. And then once you play good or show slivers of talent that they're like, they may have been held back here, and I bet you they'll be better later, then you're gonna go. So you'll be found no matter where you're at. Go look at the players in NFL today. You may see a lot of names from like Alabamas and Georgias and Oklahomas or whatnot, but you'll see a lot more from smaller schools. You know, hell, Josh Allen was a quarterback at Wyoming, and he was garbage in college. But look at him today, is because he had the tangibles and he had the body shape and everything. They thought that there's something there. We just need to figure it out and how to chisel that diamond out of that coal, or diamond out of that rock that we're seeing in front of us. And so getting a player like Hicks to understand that, I mean, it's not about winning, which is why he probably went to A&M more so for money. But I do think that he's going to see an opportunity to come here and really get the right development and coaching, because that's what these scouts look at. They look at who was coaching you, who was teaching you. And with Nick Williams leaving and going to Colorado, there's a good chance that he's probably thinking to himself, maybe I should go to Bates, who has put out 4 defensive linemen in one draft before. Why not take advantage of that?
Well, shoot, they're probably about to put in at least 2 or 3 in this draft with Brian Breesy and those guys, which, I mean, my goodness gracious, that 2020 recruiting class for Bates and Venables was just, I mean, it was insane.
Special. They did some special things with that. Should be illegal almost.
Yeah, should be illegal. Ultimately, you know, we talked about everybody there. And even with my reservations on Akana, I still think we'd land all those guys. And
I think Akana comes too. I agree.
Yeah, and that's with Bowen, because I think Peyton Bowen's pretty much, at this point, I think everybody's got it, right? Peyton Bowen's a given. I think, though, Oklahoma Sooners probably land around that 30 to 32 commit range, and you're probably going to see them anywhere between a 305 to about a 310 composite score ranking. Which
does that include transfers?
That is so no, that is not transfers. I'm not including transfers in that composite score ranking. This is straight up just recruiting, not the transfer rankings. Because if you add in the transfers, that's a separate.
I know that they're doing now a separate deal for them, but at one point they were doing the site together too. So that's why I was kind of curious if you were doing.
Yeah, you can go into the class calculator and actually take the transfers out. So like Jacob Lacey is out, but JUCO transfers, I actually count in your recruiting class just because they're taking a step up. So
gotcha.
Okay, Kendall Dolby, he'll be getting probably a 4-star look when the 247 composite scores update. So and that's what I like to go off of, just for everybody else's reference. I like to go off 247. I do think they've been around probably the longest, or they're one of the longer ones out there. I think they have some of the most
rival. Yeah,
I think they have some of the most reputable people out there, especially with the evaluators. So I really like 247. That's who I go with on those rankings. But when you look at Oklahoma potentially being in that 305 to 310 range, that could put them at 2 or 3. Now, I don't think you're getting past Alabama unless Alabama loses a Cormani McClain and a Caleb Downs, which has definitely been tossed around. But I do think Oklahoma for sure could probably lock up a 2 or 3 spot. So I'll tell you a recruit that I am very shocked that is not getting attention, just like Landon Sides. And he's here in Oklahoma, Noble, Oklahoma. I know you've probably heard of him. You probably see him on Twitter, Jay. Brandon Harper. 100 catches this year, 1,700 yards, 19 touchdowns. Number 1 in Oklahoma for yards and 3rd in the nation. And yet this kid is struggling to find a home for college football. So I don't know how we need to get it out there, but somebody's got to go look at this kid and recruit this kid because he's got some talent. And I think he could make an impact for the Sooners as well, even though we're pretty deep at the wide receiver position.
No, you're right. 100 catches. Gosh, I just can't believe that he's not even getting the attention that he's not really getting attention right now.
It's because he plays at a smaller school.
Yeah. And it makes me think about the like Taylor Wine. We're looking at him out there in Tennessee. I've read some articles on him, and some of the recruiting people were saying that, yeah, if he was out in Georgia or even like Nashville, Tennessee, instead of in like Nolensville where he's at, he'd probably be a 4.5 star player because of his talent ability. But we truly downplay small school football, which sucks, but I mean, it kind of is what it is.
There's another recruit out there in terms of the name of Caden Knighton. I don't know if you've heard him or seen that kid.
I have.
Yeah, I've actually talked to him a lot, and he sent me over his stuff early in the season. I'm not going to go look it up right now. It's going to take me too long. But that's another guy that Oklahoma is really going to have to watch out for in 2025. I think it's 2025. He could be a game changer as well for those recruiting rankings. I think could be a well-looked-at player.
Yeah, at his size. And the good thing is as more schools really start looking at him, there's a good chance that he'll step out. But at the same time, he's 2025. So we've got time before all the he start going to camps and stuff. Even though he's out there in Winewood, he may not even have to hit camps. If he's putting up numbers.
Wynnewood, yeah.
Wynnewood. I'm sorry, Wynnewood, yeah.
Yeah, this season he had 2,017 rushing yards and 32 touchdowns.
Jesus.
like that like if you do that in Oklahoma City or Edmond, you'd be a freaking 5-star. No
immediately.
Yeah,
and as a size, the good thing is he's got a couple years to grow too. I mean, he's only 5'10", about 175, so he's got time to really fill out.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where, you know what, if you got the talent and you've got family members in these bigger cities, I know you love your parents, but you might really want to consider moving to the bigger cities to get potential looks like that, because it could be life-changing for sure.
I say the biggest thing for him is to go to camps and show off his skills.
Oh yeah.
To me, you don't have to go to a big city if you go to those camps and really show out in those. All they want to do is see your footwork, see if you have the I guess you could say the intangibles. If you have those, then a lot of these schools will start giving you more offers.
Yep. Nope, they for sure will. So let's go ahead and let's dive a little bit into the transfer portal. It's the hot topic, the thing everybody wants to talk about. And Oklahoma, they're dead smack in the middle of it. You've seen, I wouldn't say a mass exodus, because a lot of the guys that are hitting the portal for the Sooners, they're guys that they aren't seeing a lot of time. They don't have a lot of production for us. And so Cavante Henry was part of that 2022 class. You got Clayton Smith. I think that was probably the one where I'm like, I really wish that guy would have panned out and we would have been able to keep him. Which got Alton Tarber hitting the portal, Cedric Roberts, Davian Woolen, who we've actually had here on the podcast, Bryson Washington, Nick Evers, Trayvon West, Jordan Mukes, Kendall Dennis, Brian Darby, Joshua Eaton, Theo Wease.
Look at you.
And then Joseph Wiete. So Oklahoma's lost quite a few people, but no need to fear, because with 30 to 32 recruits coming in this recruiting class, and the names that we're hearing being thrown out in terms of who they could potentially be looking at in the transfer portal, I think Oklahoma is going to be in good hands, and probably in better hands than they were last year. Because in the point that I will just keep making, Venables came in last year during the middle of the transfer portal being open. So he was coming in at pretty much a late foot. When you look at what he's doing this season, they're going to be taking best fit for the schemes that they want to run, not best available. And I think that is going to be able to turn around the team next year. Go ahead.
No, 100%. And it's kind of something that I've been saying a lot on my channel when I talk about this and talking with my boy Coop whenever we jump together. And like with you all, is My concern about the transfer portal is if you have a coach that's been there for a while and they're starting to lose starters, starting to lose those key players, not graduate transfers, but I'm talking about sophomores and juniors that are starting and very productive and they start leaving. You're going to expect this from Colorado's going to have a mass exodus very soon, so be prepared. They've already had 2 decommits at Colorado, even though Deion Sanders just got there. 2 players have decommitted.
Yeah,
and it's
but
mainly
he told
because
him to get lost. He told him.
well, that's what I'm saying. Mainly because these coaches are having these exit interviews, and they're saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be honest. A player may be asking, "Hey, is there a chance for me to even crack the rotation?" Based upon the way you're playing, no. And the guys we've got coming in, some of these kids are looking at the writing on the wall and seeing that, yeah, I'm not gonna chance to play here. I probably should go somewhere else, probably to a smaller school, and then I'll get some playing time. And that's what they want because, again, like I said before, remember, if the NFL wants you, they're going to find you. If you're talented, they're going to find you regardless of where you're playing. Now, it's easier to be seen in some of these bigger schools, but they're going to find you. And that's how a lot of these players end up on like practice squads and stuff. And then that's when they're given a true shot. And then the scouts are like, yeah, I like them. Go for it. Or the combine. So what these kids are doing now is these exit interview conversations are being, real heart to heart. And they're recognizing that, well, there's no chance I'm going to get into the rotation, especially with the new guys coming in. I got to get out. And so with Venables, this is what makes his different than most is that a lot of these kids that are leaving are players they added at the end of the recruiting cycle. A lot of 3-stars that they were kind of scrambling to bring in because they didn't start until mid-December and really didn't start recruiting until late December and January when in-home visits started. But this year they had the opportunity to actually be in that full cycle and do that. And a couple of transfers here and there that they brought in because they needed some bodies and they were just sitting in the portal and nobody was taken. So they were scraping the barrel. And then lastly, all the recruits they're bringing in into this new class are guys that they actually want. I mean, Kobe McKenzie was a flip twice that they wanted because he would fit the scheme. Same with Kip Lewis. And so they're bringing in the players that they want. And so that's when you're going to start noticing that things are going to be completely different down the line. That's what you got to pay attention to when it comes to these kids in the transfer portal. A&M's got a problem. Oklahoma State has a problem because they're losing production, actual people that play. Now they got now A&M's got another 5-star probably in the wings, but it's still a concern. For Oklahoma, this is expected. Every regime wants their players in there. I would expect that here at Oklahoma too.
Yeah, and again, the biggest difference with Oklahoma is you're not necessarily pushing out guys with production. You're pushing out the guys that haven't produced, really haven't seen the field a whole lot. Maybe guys that don't even really fit your culture, which is a big thing because one of the things that I've talked about, I've heard this from guys that actually are in the program at Oklahoma, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Some of these guys can really change the game with their body language when they give up big plays or something like that because they realize they're slipping back to the old ways. And that's the kind of stuff that they're trying to push out of the program. Get rid of it. Get rid of that mentality, right?
Yeah.
Something big. But looking at some transfer portal names, there's some big ones out there for Oklahoma. And I think it was expected that Oklahoma was going to get some Clemson players this year because, it's over now. Some of those guys have had their time at Clemson, the time that they had to spend, the time that, Venables made them spend there. And when I look at what Oklahoma could take in the transfer portal, they could really upgrade at a lot of positions. And I know when you look at some of the guys that are in the transfer portal for Clemson, you don't see necessarily a lot of production from these guys, but that's just because I think that they have recruited so well at Clemson that some of these guys just haven't had the opportunity. And so I think some of these guys could come to Oklahoma like a Fred Davis, who I think would be tremendous here, or maybe even a Vonta Bentley, who is a linebacker as well. I think some of those guys, getting them into Oklahoma, getting them in the system that actually know BV's system could potentially change the defense and where you could probably see the most improvement for next year. What's your thoughts on just some of the players that Oklahoma could take from Clemson this year out of the transfer portal?
Yeah, and that's the expectation. You're right. A lot of people are starting to recognize that that you're probably going to see some of these Clemson guys come here. Like, as you mentioned, Venables basically told them, hey, stick to your commitment at Clemson. Don't leave with me year one. You need to, stay there and, fill it out. We're past year one's over. And at this point, if the players decide they want to enter the portal, we'd be stupid to not say, okay, well, we'll look at you now because you entered the portal, not because of us. You entered it after a year and decided that, nah, this is not where I want it to be. So I totally expect Venables and staff to get a few of these Clemson players to come out, at least do a visit, have a conversation, and see if it's something worthwhile. Now, I haven't really seen anything notes wise like you. I look 24/7. I also leverage On3, which is funny. The guy that founded 24/7 is also the same guy that founded On3 Sports. A lot of people don't know that. So it's the same dude. He found 24/7, sold him to CBS, and now he created On3, which he'll probably sell that pretty soon too. But looking at through the notes and everything, I haven't seen anything about those players really yet. Like, it's been quiet for some reason, but at the same time, I could totally understand. It feels like in some people that I've talked to around, they mentioned to me that most of the players that we're going to see come here, it's going to all happen like as a big waterfall. Like, it's not going to be a trickle effect where a player here commits and a player there. They're expecting it to all happen basically at once, especially after these in-home visits go. And so looking at these players that are leaving Clemson, I'm wondering if they're convincing them to go look around first before coming here, or are they trying to look at other players at the same time? Like, it feels weird to say that, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like there's any type of consistency on how they're recruiting these guys.
Well, and Venables will know firsthand whether these guys are going to be good acquisitions for Oklahoma through the transfer portal. And again, I know that you can look at them and see some of their production. Venables will know why they didn't get production at Clemson. It's going to be because, hey, was it just too much depth and they weren't able to see it? Was it because, they just weren't panning out? Like, what was that like? Names that I think people need to be looking at in the transfer portal for Oklahoma, as far as it comes from Clemson guys, whether they're in the portal or not. DeMonte Capehart, a defensive tackle, a defensive lineman from the 2020 class. He's played only in 12 games, only has 12 total tackles. 7 of those were total, only 1 sack. So that's a guy where I could totally see him after the bowl game hitting the portal. And I think this is a guy at 6'5", a little over 300 pounds that I think would fit well in Oklahoma and would definitely give us more defensive line depth, which Oklahoma tremendously needs. Then I just talked about it, Levante Bentley. He is one of the linebackers at Clemson. He's also in the portal. Past 2 years, he has had 50 total tackles. He has had about 28 of those solo. He's had 2 sacks, 1 fumble, 1 forced fumble. So I really like what he's able to bring from a production standpoint, and especially at the linebacker position. I think that's an area that we're definitely going to be able to hit the portal hard. We talked about it. Fred Davis, Sergio Allen. I love both of what those guys are going to be able to bring. And then additionally, just outside of Clemson, we hear everything about the McCall brothers. I don't think we really need to go into that one too much. Yeah, McCullough. But Levius Overton at Texas A&M. I still think this is a real possibility for Oklahoma if he hits the portal. If he hits the portal. Because Levius Overton almost ended up at Oklahoma as it was. It really did just come down to he got a bigger bag at A&M. Because I heard that Oklahoma laid out a bag for Levius Overton. It just wasn't. A&M just beat us out in a bidding war. But Levius Overton almost ended up here. And so I think that's going to be curious to see kind of what's going to happen there with Overton if he hits the portal. I've heard of and I'm not going to give out where he's from, but a 5-star edge rusher in the 2021 class. If he hits the portal, wait for Oklahoma. Oklahoma could be very well in that race if they're not already. So as a lot of you might have heard from other channels or heard from myself. I don't know if Jay's talked about it, but Wiltfong has specifically talked about if you're not backdooring some of these players, you're going to be behind.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, after the Texas game, I promise you the staff has been changed their mindset on the transfer portal, offering to people that are not juniors, getting in early on recruitments, because you know what? It's worked at Clemson. Clemson's won some national championships, but this ain't Clemson. And I think the staff realized that real quickly. So, Jay, do you have any other final thoughts on the transfer portal or anybody that you think we need to be really watching for?
No, to be honest, I think the only thing I got to say is just, buckle your seatbelts. This is going to be fast and furious for the next 2 weeks. It's especially with early signing period coming December 21st and 23rd. The quiet period is the 19th of December. So up until the 19th, it's going to be fast and furious. PG's going to be dropping videos daily. I'm definitely going to be doing the same. As these offers come in, you'll see more and more content flying out there. So just be prepared.
I will only keep dropping videos if y'all hit the like and the subscribe button. If y'all stop hitting the like and the subscribe button, I can't be posting videos because then I'm going to have to focus more on my work after hours. So I'm going to need y'all to give me a little bit of incentive to keep posting those for you and giving you guys some updates. But as we wrap it up, I want to go ahead and give you guys a couple updates of some things that you guys need to be looking out for in terms of videos from myself, and then I will go ahead and let Jay go after that. But Friday, we have an interview with Justin Harrington coming out, so stay tuned for that one. That one's going to be fun. It is the longest interview we've had on this channel, a little over an hour. So
nice.
we really dive into his time at Oklahoma, his thoughts on the transfer portal, NIL. We had a huge talk about food.
Yeah, he's a foodie, right?
Oh, he loves food, and y'all might need to be watching out because Justin Harrington and I might be doing something with food here soon. So y'all need to keep an eye out for that one, and go show the man some love. He's definitely going to be an option at that cheetah role for next year, and a guy that you could definitely be hearing called a lot on the field. So other than that, I've got a lot of stuff coming out with Colorado and Deion Sanders, specifically a recruit that was told by Deion Sanders to pretty much go fly a kite after he had an offer from Colorado for several months. So be watching out for that video because I am extremely excited to put that one out there for you guys. But Jay, what do you have coming out for the people?
Yeah, just search for us, Unfair Sports. We'll be talking about the recruits and the transfer portal just about every day. I've got a video coming out, especially for Sooner fans, around that. I'm hitting up some of the Colorado information as players come in and out of the portal and the staff gets built because it's a polarizing and fascinating topic just to see what Deion Sanders can put together there. So yeah, keep your eyes open. We drop content just about daily as well on the players, and I'm going to be breaking down a couple of new defensive linemen that we just offered this evening. I'll have some names up there so you check out.
All right. If you guys haven't already, again, please go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps me and Jay out and others as content creators, and it's completely free to you guys. It doesn't cost you anything to hit that like and the subscribe button. So go ahead, do that. Help us out. It helps us bring you guys great content, and keep an eye out. And until next time, Boomer.
Sooner.